Hey everybody, this is Perch. It's time to talk about a couple comics that are late. And when I say a couple, I mean dozens. So in this case, we're focusing entirely on Marvel. Now, the reasons for delays continue to be somewhat ambiguous. We've kind of gotten away from saying supply chain issues. I think that supply chain definitely is a problem in certain areas, but probably not for Marvel Comics, certainly not for a lot of the comics we're talking about. I would say it's more logistics problems, and logistics being internal mechanisms, kind of getting the necessary pieces put in place. There's been a lot of attention has been on DC for the various struggles that they've had with Discovery, and then before that, Warner Brothers and AT&T, and kind of being short staffed and everything else. And we've spent a lot of time talking about DC and kind of their challenges. And an interesting thing that's happened is that very few people are talking about Marvel and some of their challenges. Well, Marvel is also short-staffed. They had several positions open. They're not getting quick results in filling some of those positions. And there's been some other, from what I've been told, odd behavior, just people not turning things in, work slipping kind of randomly, people forgetting about certain projects, and just logistically, there's this feeling of chaos. Now, I'm sure that there are some supply chain issues, but I don't think that the comics we're about to mention have anything to do with that. So in particular, we're talking about comics that were solicited in August, and August being just a couple months away. We know what those comics are. I stopped doing the comics that are coming out. I really should get back to it. But regardless, a number, and when I say a number, a large number of comics moved out of August into September, and in some cases, October and November. So interestingly enough, when we talk about the books that move from August to September, basically a month delay, we're talking about some pretty big books, and I think now we're going to go into it. So first off, we have a Avengers X-Men Eternals, and that is the big summer crossover. So Judgment Day #4, Death to the Mutants #2, both slipped into September. Alien #1, rebooting that series, slipping into September. Amazing Spider-Man 9 and 10, both moving from August into September, meaning we're going to get a pretty big wait here coming up. Ant-Man Avengers, which is a AXE crossover. Avengers Forever, which is a multiverse of evil. Nobody's paying attention to this crossover. Black Panther #9, Captain Marvel 41. And at this point, I'm going to pause for a second as we go through all these comics that are delayed. What I want to point out to you is that this is hitting a variety of different lines. What I mean by lines is you have the Avengers line, you have the X-Men line, you have a lot of different lines of comics, and they have different writers, different editors, different assistant editors. And these slips and these delays, in some cases 30 days or in some cases 90 days, are crossing over into a number of different groups, which meaning this isn't just one office that's having trouble. This is across the board. And in many cases, several of these titles are just getting started. So it's hard to believe that, the creative team is behind. I'm sure in some cases that is the case, but it's really hard to believe that the writer is behind on any of these, given the sorts of delays that we're seeing, and given the fact that it's completely across the board, across all writers. So anyways, I'm continuing. Carnage #6, Daredevil #3, Defenders Beyond #3, Fantastic Four #47, which is an AXE crossover, Genisville Captain Marvel #3, Hulk #10, and Thor #28 actually were originally slipped 1 month and then were announced to slip 2 months into October. So both Donny Cates issues, both Donny Cates projects moving basically 2 months. And, Hulk is just coming out of this Thor-Hulk crossover. Over in Thor, he's crossing over with Venom. Probably pretty big deal comics to get put out. Anyway, we continue. Immortal X-Men #6 delayed, Iron Man 23, Legion of X #5, Marauders #6, New Fantastic Four #4, Predator #2, She-Hulk #6, Spider-Punk #5, Star Wars Dr. Aphra #24, Han Solo and Chewbacca #6, Strange #6, Venom #11, Wild Cards, drawing the cards #3. That's no great shock. I mean, George R.R. Martin has slipped roughly 20 years off of Game of Thrones. But anyway, X-Men 92, House of X, CII #5, and X-Men Red #6, which is also an AXE crossover. So what I want to point out here is a couple things. And these are all moving into September. We're going to get to the comics that moved out 2 months in a second. But again, I draw your attention to lots of different lines, lots of different editors, lots of different writers, pretty across the board. So I'm sure a couple of these have late creative teams. However, that doesn't account for all of them. It wouldn't make any sense. So I think we're really looking at comics where you have very late, basically editorial logistics that are happening here. And again, short-staffed is definitely a cause. But let's continue. There's some scary books here. So moving from August to October, 2 months delay. We've got Gambit number 4, Ghost Rider number 7, Exterminators number 2. And then moving out 90 days from August to November, we have Thunderbolts number 4 by Jim Zub, who's been on this channel, promoted that book, and obviously has a large body of work to suggest it's not the writer who's late on this one. X-Men Legends number 4, and then a handful of trade paperbacks, including Spider-Man 99, Venom Lethal Protector, X-Men Red, Captain Carter, and Spider-Gwen. And in some cases, the trades make sense because some of the issues that go into those trades were previously delayed. So that's not a big shock. But some of these other titles, I mean, in particular, when you're starting to talk about several titles that are crossing over into Avengers, X-Men Eternals, that's that is intended to be the big summer blockbuster for Marvel. And I think in general, if you look at these books, there's a lot that's suddenly crammed into September, which means we're going to see, with no doubt about it, a rolling effect of comics that were solicited for September coming out later. You're going to see several of these comic books, I believe, moving from August to September, continue to move. Like I said, already we got word that Hulk number 10 and Thor number 28 slipped a second time into the following month. And if you look at it again, Donny Cates, whatever you think about him, that's not a guy who typically is late with his comics. Hulk, drawn by Ryan Ottley, again, another guy who's pretty rock solid. And Thor number 28 has actually listed his art by Salvador Larroca, who, as long as he's got a light table in front of him and some stuff to trace, he's going to be really, really fast. So anyway, pretty shocking, these delays. This is not a healthy sign for the House of Ideas. And I point this out again because everybody always bitches about DC, what they're doing, what chaos they're in. And the reality is Marvel is in the same, or in some cases, more chaos. I mean, we're talking about all of their core books. For all intents and purposes, this is nearly everything that they're putting out. It crosses every line. It crosses into their biggest summer blockbuster, the thing that they're hoping to make the most money this year, which is AXE. And so you got to start to question, what is going on here? It's not a paper problem. It's not a supply chain problem, as it's been described before. There's other issues. And when you hear stories internally about editors not getting back on scripts or things being solicited, I've heard numerous stories now within Marvel where comics just weren't sent to the colorist for no apparent reason, and the colorist had to go hunt them down. So you do kind of wonder what's happening here in the company. But anyway, a large number of titles slipping. I mean, again, nearly every title Marvel is doing. The 2 Captain Americas coming out on time. How about that? But almost everything else moving. And that's a pretty big deal. I mean, roughly it's half of their line is going to move from August to September or October or November. And those kinds of delays, you really have to question what's happening. Anyway, thought I'd let you know. So feel free in the comments below to throw out a couple bits of mindless speculation on your own to figure out what's going on. And thanks for listening.